Hey there, fellow gamers! Whether you're just starting to dive into World of Warcraft or you're a veteran trying to up your game, you're in the right place. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the Mythic Plus DPS tier list for World of Warcraft latest patch. We're breaking down every melee and ranged DPS spec, from the absolute top specs in S tier all the way down to the D tier, and letting you know exactly where each class stands. If you want to step up your performance in M+, this video is for you. Grab your favorite snack, hit that like button, and let's get into it. Before we start, let's talk a bit about what makes this tier list tick. It's based on the latest feedback from top players, current meta, and Mythic Plus runs. This isn't just about raw damage numbers. We're also considering utility, survivability, and how smooth it feels to play your class in a real dungeon setting. After all, a top-tier spec isn't just about numbers. It's about how fun and flexible it feels in the heat of battle. All right, now that we've covered the basics, let's break it down and start with melee DPS. These are the specs that like to get up close and personal, dealing heavy damage with some serious upfront aggression. Let's kick things off with a bang. Retribution Paladins are dominating the Mythic Plus scene right now. Why? Well, they bring massive burst damage, strong utility, and can easily handle multiple roles in any group. With the Templar and Lightsmith hero talent trees, they not only dish out crazy damage, but also bring utility like buffs and auras that'll help your group's overall performance. Whether you're dealing single target or AoE, Retribution Paladins excel in every scenario. These guys are just the right mix of power and support, and if you're looking to smash through dungeons while keeping things flexible, this spec should definitely be on your radar. Next up, we've got the Unholy Death Knights. These guys bring that solid sustained damage while also providing great ad control. You're basically a walking disease machine, spreading debuffs like it's your job. Rider of the Apocalypse and Sandlane talent trees really push them into A tier, with consistent damage that scales up well, especially in dungeons where you face waves of enemies. The downside? Well, they're not the most mobile class, so you'll need to pick your moments carefully. But hey, if you can position well and keep the pressure on the mobs, you'll be reaping those rewards. Here's the thing about Havoc Demon Hunters. They are fast. Seriously, if you love high mobility and constant in and out damage, these guys are for you. The only downside is that they're a bit CD reliant, meaning that if you mess up your cooldowns, your damage output might take a hit. However, once you get the hang of their rotation, you'll find that they can deal decent damage in a fast-paced mobile dungeon environment. Enhancement Shamans are in the C tier, and honestly, they're kind of in a weird place right now. The spec used to be all about weapon procs and buffing your damage, but it's fallen behind in recent patches. They have a strong AoE toolkit, but their single-target damage just isn't up to par when compared to some of the other classes. Still, if you're a fan of totem mechanics and weaving in elemental buffs, Enhancement Shamans might be a fun choice. Just don't expect top-tier results in Mythic Plus dungeons. Let's not forget about Assassination Rogues, Arms Warriors, Windwalker Monks, and Fury Warriors. These specs are all in the C tier for a reason. While they're not bad by any means, they're just not cutting it compared to the higher tier specs. The problem? Well, it's mostly about damage consistency and utility. Rogues have great mobility but are somewhat squishy. Arms Warriors bring some utility, but lack the big numbers of other melee classes. Windwalker Monks have a solid rotation, but their overall damage isn't as high as the S and A tier specs. They're still fun to play and have their niche, but if you're after the best performance, you'll need to look elsewhere. These specs are struggling right now in Mythic Plus. Frost Death Knights don't have the same sustained pressure as their unholy counterparts. Feral Druids lack the damage versatility. Outlaw Rogues have trouble maintaining a good flow in AoE situations. Survival Hunters don't quite stack up against other ranged DPS. and subtlety rogues feel like they need more love. If you're looking for pure DPS performance in Mythic Plus, it might be better to pass on these specs for now, unless you're playing for fun or roleplay. Now, let's shift gears and talk about ranged DPS. These are the specs that prefer to take a step back, let the other guys get in close, and deal massive damage from a safe distance. Starting with marksmanship hunters, these guys are solid. They deal insane single-target damage, and their utility is top-notch, especially with abilities like True Shot. They're safe from a distance, but can hit harder than most melee specs when played right. Combine that with their trap utility and pet synergy, and they're hard to beat. Arcane mages, on the other hand, are all about burst. If you love explosive damage, Arcane is the way to go. The ability to mana burn and create massive burst windows makes them a force to be reckoned with. Plus, they offer a bit of mobility to keep you safe while dishing out that damage. Finally, balanced druids are all about AoE and multi-target damage. They bring a great toolkit to the table, especially if you're looking for versatility. If the situation calls for it, they can switch to single-target focus too, making them a solid pick in A tier. Moving to B tier, we've got Beast Mastery Hunters, Demonology Warlocks, and Elemental Shamans. These specs are decent, no doubt, but they're not quite top tier. Beast Mastery Hunters are super pet dependent, which can be a downside if your pet gets killed or mismanaged. Demonology Warlocks can summon a lot of demons, but their single target damage just doesn't compare to some other ranged DPS. Elemental Shamans are fun and have a decent AoE toolkit, but they struggle with single target consistency in high-end Mythic Plus content. Finally, C-tier ranged specs like Devastation Evoker, Destruction Warlock, and Frost Mage. While they can still perform in dungeons, their potential has been outshined by the other classes. If you're aiming for the highest DPS in Mythic Plus, these specs might leave you wanting more. So, there you have it. The full breakdown of the best DPS specs for Mythic Plus dungeons in World of Warcraft's latest season. From Retribution Paladins dominating the S tier, to Frost Death Knights and Survival Hunters hanging out in D tier, we've covered it all. But remember, the tier list can shift with patches, so don't be afraid to experiment with your favorite class. Or you can follow our guides on Overgear.com. If you found this guide helpful, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment about which DPS spec you think deserves a higher spot. And hey, don't forget to share this with your guild. They'll thank you later. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.